Hey guys, back with the Scratch Golf Show. Another instance, another episode. I think we're on episode 17 now. If you're watching on YouTube, if you could like, comment, and subscribe, you know the drill. All that stuff really helps me a ton. Before we get into the interview today, introduce our guests, just a couple of quick sponsors. Thanks to our sponsors, Core Chiropractic and Performance Center, local family-owned business. Check them out, corecbc.com. Schedule your free consultation if you're looking for core chiropractic, rehab, or sports performance, as well as Breakfast Ball Golf Sim, a new sponsor of ours. Check them out if you're in Michigan. But anyways, now let's get into our guest. Really fun one. I'm really excited to do this. Mr. James Lynch. James, thanks for joining the Scratch Golf Show, man. I really appreciate it.
Hello. Thank you, Marco, for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
Yeah, dude, absolutely. I know we were just chatting offline before we get into the questions, but just a couple, have you done a ton of podcasts? I looked up a couple. I know you did one with, I think it's Wedges, a few months
let's
ago.
go.
Have you done any other podcasts, around since you started doing? No? Okay.
No, just
Cool.
them and
Cool.
you.
Sweet. So let's call it your unofficial podcast debut.
Absolutely.
Cool, man. Well, what you been up to the past couple weeks? I know you're out in LA. You've been playing a lot of golf or filming a lot of content outside of eating sunblock.
Eating something. Oh, that was wild. A lot of just filming, filming and writing and doing comedy shows at night and stuff. But most of my days are just writing golf sketches and then going to the course and shooting them and playing a lot of golf.
That's awesome, dude. I'm really curious about your process and stuff, of how you go about doing skits and filming, because obviously you're in your own little niche within a niche, right? There's golf content, and then there's short form golf content, and then you're obviously the comedic side of stuff, which I personally love. I think you're hilarious. I love your stuff.
Thank you.
But yeah, dude, I think it's awesome what you're doing. Like I said, I'm a big fan. Cool. Well, like I said, I'm curious about your process. But we'll get into that later. But to start, before you got into comedy, before you actually became James Lynch, the influencer, how tell me a little bit about yourself. What did you do growing up? Where are you from? When did you start playing golf, stuff like that.
Absolutely. I am from Sparta, New Jersey, East Coast boy. Yeah. And I started playing golf my sophomore year of high school, and it's actually because I used to play baseball and I loved it. I thought I was always pretty good, pretty athletic. But the problem was my freshman year, everyone had hit puberty but me. So, they were getting bigger and getting stronger and hitting the ball further and throwing harder. And I was still looking like I was in middle school. So I was like, I don't know. I was the first base coach, which I thought was just yeah, Dad, they trust me to be the first base coach. And they're like, no, that's because you're not playing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just stayed prepubescent James, not hitting at all. So I was like, screw this. What else could I do? And then I think it was a few weeks after the season had ended, I went to the driving range with my friend, and I was like, it's not a baseball swing, but once you get the mechanics of one thing, you can kind of transfer it. Yeah. So I started trying just to nuke the ball as hard as I could. I was like, oh, this is so fun. And then I started playing golf all that summer. And then the next year for sophomore year, I just played on the golf team. It was free golf during high school, playing these nice country clubs after school. I was like, oh, this is perfect. Why wouldn't I do this? Yeah. It's a pretty funny switch to it.
No, I get that, man. It's funny you say that because I'm curious because I played hockey. So I'm a righty, grew up playing hockey and baseball, tennis. I have very good hand-eye coordination. I'm a decent golfer. I played with a scratch, so I'm nothing crazy. But I'm curious, did you pick it up pretty easy? Like you said, obviously it's not a baseball swing, but it's similar hand-eye coordination. Was it pretty easy for you to pick up once you started doing it?
Yeah, it actually kind of was. I think the easiest thing was I had a weird swing to begin with, but I think it was easy to be coached a little bit. Yeah. More even my golf coach would tell me what I'm doing wrong, and then I would it would take a few swings for me to get it, but then I'd get one and be like, okay, I kind of understand that. Yeah. It was I just loved it at the moment. I became so obsessed with it so fast. So it was I was doing it all the time. Yeah. So I think I got pretty decent quick. Decent in my world,
Fair enough. Yeah, for sure.
In a whole nother world. Decent for me.
I assume you were a lefty playing baseball? Yeah.
Yes.
Cool. Well, how did you end up in LA? Did you go to school out there, or did you go to school on the East Coast?
I went to school on the East Coast. I went to Montclair, and I did television production there, but I did a lot of comedy during college and short films and stuff like that. And I had my one professor, Professor McClelland, best guy I know. And
Shout out.
as soon as we graduated, me and my roommates still live with them, and they do comedy with me all the
Yeah.
time. He pulled us to the side after one comedy show, and he's like, "You guys like need to move to LA. That's where it's happening." So we're
Yeah.
like, "All right," and then we just all
Yeah.
graduated and then immediately moved out here. And he was right. My life has changed so much since being out here.
Yeah. That's awesome, dude. So when did you actually move out to LA? Was it COVID or was it post COVID?
It was post COVID. It
Post
was
COVID.
January of 2023.
Okay, so you've been
A
also
year
not
and a
that
half.
long, which is
Yeah,
crazy.
almost 2 years.
I feel like you've been. I mean, I mean, dude, I got married in May and I got engaged in 22, and it feels like I got engaged yesterday.
Oh,
I think
really?
time's
That's awesome.
flying by. So
Congrats.
I feel like you've been around. I mean, the whole YouTube golf thing feels like it's been around forever, but it really kind of took off, in COVID, which is wild to think about. But that's awesome. Yeah, I know you mentioned you do a lot of stand up stuff, which is super cool. And I'm like I said, I'm really curious to hear about your process. But
Yeah.
let's talk a little bit about, speaking of your process. I guess
Yeah.
that's my next question on the question sheet. But what is your process like? And we can keep it pretty open ended, and then we'll see where that question takes the
Yeah.
conversation.
A lot. So when it first started, so I kind of like transition. I'm doing like more filmed sketches, I would say, like
Yeah,
now as in recently. But like when I first started doing like just like the skits on a golf course, it would be pretty much me and like I mentioned, my two friends who I do comedy with,
yeah,
Pat and Mikey. We would just go out on the course together because they would help me film.
yeah,
And we would go out there with no idea at all and kind of just be goofing around, like
yeah,
improvising and just doing bits. It's always bits with these guys. So then, like, whenever like we would all laugh collectively, we'd all kind of share a look and be like, it's kind of funny. And then we just like pull out
yeah,
an iPhone and then film it and then upload it. And then sometimes they would do pretty well. And then I've done so many of those. And then I started doing like film sketches with an actual camera and kind of like an actual script where I'd sit down and like take like 2 hours just to like write something down.
yeah.
And those kind of started with like, what are some normal situations that happen on a golf course? Like when the Bev cart girl pulls
Right.
up, what's a normal situation that happens a lot, and how can I blow that out of the water and make it so absurd?
Yeah,
And then I'd sit down and be like, that'd be funny if like the Bev cart girl carted me and called me a 9-year-old and I thought I was using a fake ID to get a beer. And
yeah,
then I just like, try and script that out and then take like an hour or two to write it and then send it to a friend and be like, hey, would you want to do this? And they're like, yeah. So that's how the process is kind of now.
yeah,
And I like figuring out what are some relatable things that happen on a golf course that I could
yeah.
just exaggerate.
Nice. I shout out, speaking of cart girls, shout out Ash de Blasi. I think you should recreate some of his content with the cart girl and do like a
I know.
reenactment. Like, do you know St. Andre Golf? How they did the recreation of like the Bryan Bros and Josh Kelly
Yes,
with
with
the heart.
the
I
fade
think you
in the
should do
draw.
that with
It's beautiful.
Ash with one of his cart girl
Yeah,
reactions.
absolutely.
Shout out Ash. I love the Michigan guys.
Yeah,
They're awesome. But
they're great
so
guys. I love
you
them.
so you're obviously on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, which I'll link all in the description. Subscribe, follow. Obviously, you have a ton. You're already huge. I'll
Thank
try and
you.
give you
Thank
a
you.
couple followers. But
Absolutely.
do you focus more on like short form content or long form content? I'm curious
Honestly,
what your answer is.
yeah, there was a time, I think more so last year, I was more focused on like YouTube and I like really try to dial myself in. And then I was growing pretty fast, but also the shorts helped a lot. Like my
Yeah,
skits
for
that I would
sure.
upload to YouTube shorts kind of blew up
Yeah,
and then that would get traction and people would watch my longer stuff. But there was a point at last year where I was trying to release a long form video at least once a week.
yeah,
And then it's fun and I like doing it, but I think my main passion is like sketches and writing it out and acting
yeah,
where I kind of like want to do more of that. So I started doing that's when I kind of transitioned to doing like, all right, let me try more of like the written out sketches that I could just post on my Instagram and TikTok.
yeah,
And now I'm like thinking of like if those do well, I do have ideas that I think would be too long to do for those reels and
yeah,
shorts. So I'm like, maybe I could just switch my long form content to like longer sketches where it's like just acting and something that I'm super passionate about. So I kind
yeah,
of get the mix of they're the best of both worlds where I'm like
yeah,
still doing long form YouTube, but it's kind of what I want. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's still like I love doing long form content where I'm just like, drinking a beer on a golf course and
yeah,
trying to shoot my lowest. That's still fun, but I think my end goal is still like just acting and comedy like that. So I'm gonna try and utilize doing the shorts to get there.
yeah. No, I feel like you've seen different creators do different things. I mean, Ben Cooper. I don't know if you. I'm assuming you know Ben Cooper. Like he grew
Yeah,
specifically through shorts, and now obviously doing the long form stuff. I feel like for you, like one, the playing stuff is just this very saturated. Like I do a little playing stuff. I'm not very like I'm not great, but like that type of stuff is obviously very saturated. But it's obviously harder to do that in like a longer form content.
Yeah,
So and it's a lot of work.
it
Obviously
is a
like
lot of work.
editing,
Yeah,
like doing short form is hard and a lot of editing. Like the long form stuff, like I don't even have a camera guy, so I can't even imagine how much work it is trying to do all those stuff.
yeah,
So props to those guys, but I get it, and obviously, what you're passionate about is kind of super important. Like I know you do this full time, right? I mean, this is your
yeah,
I do, I have a full time job, and like I do this as a passion project, but for you, you do it full time, which I find it super interesting. Like, do you focus like more on TikTok and Instagram versus like I guess you post most of your shorts on YouTube, but do you focus more on like a certain app? I'm just curious, like if you have like more expertise in certain like the social media
yeah.
applications.
So the way I look at it is, think, I mean, YouTube is awesome. Like
Yeah,
it's definitely, I think that's where the future is going to be. Like even regards of just like TV shows in general, I feel like
yeah,
we'll probably move to YouTube. But I really do love testing. Like if I film a video and I'm like unhappy with it, I'm like, I don't
yeah,
know if this is that. I don't know if this is my best work. I will kind of upload it to TikTok and see how it does and use that as a test for
yeah,
some weird reason. And there's no science behind it. This is just how I feel. I think Instagram is the most important, but there's no reason why I think that. It's just that's how I think.
yeah. I feel
So it's
that.
like when I have a video that I'm unsure of, I'm like, I'll just throw it up on TikTok and see how
Yeah,
it does, and then we'll see if it'll do well on Instagram. And
yeah,
then I recycle everything onto YouTube Shorts and
yeah.
stuff, and then I'll try to cut clips from my long form YouTube videos to Instagram Reels or TikTok.
Do you do all your own editing, or do you have it like
I
a?
do. So
You
that's
do.
another thing why I was like,
Yeah,
most of the long form is so tedious to me because I'm editing myself, and
yeah.
when I hate watching myself. It's
I
like,
feel that.
because it's like I'm trying to make a very funny and entertaining YouTube video. So like when I'm watching myself edit, I'm like listening to myself throw out thousands of jokes that are just not funny, but I'm obviously going to cut them. So it's like
Yeah,
you're throwing 1,000 at the wall and a
right.
hundred are going to stick or whatever. So it's like I'm like cringing at myself. I'm like, why did you say that? Shut up, you idiot. And I'm like, also now I know how editing me is, so I don't want to put that onto someone else because
Yeah.
I'm afraid that they're going to grow to hate me too. They're going to be like, no, this kid's not funny at all.
Dude, I don't know,
Yeah.
man. I think you're hilarious. Like I said, I love your stuff. I think I wish I could. I'm sure I could find some of your stand up somewhere. But I love, dude.
Yeah.
I love comedy. Like I'm somebody who in my early 20s I was probably a little too like stressed out. Now I like to laugh it off. Like we're not gonna be here forever. Like just laugh.
Yes,
Don't be super serious. Um.
exactly.
So when you go about filming like encore stuff, like I know you just released a sunscreen short on YouTube today, which is hilarious. Like how do you go about doing? Like, do you just pull up to a course, or do you have like a club out there? Like, how does that work? I'm genuinely curious.
I usually I live close to this course called Wilson and Harding in Griffith Park, and I really like it. I have a guy that works there, and he'll help me get tee times. Like he'll just
Yeah,
like put me out after 5 o'clock. So he's like a really nice guy. And I just go. I always film at like the second hole on I think it's Harding or Wilson
yeah,
because I don't know. I'm superstitious. I'm like, oh, I've had a few viral ones here. Let's just keep going there. And I always go at like 5 o'clock, so it's like not really busy. Like if there's ever like a single, like we'll just let them play through.
yeah.
Meanwhile, I'm just covered in sunscreen dripping from my mouth. I'm like, just play through. It's like, what the hell is going on here?
That or spaghettios dripping from your
Yes.
pumps.
Oh my god, that was insane. That one, that was kind of scary because when I was putting the spaghettios in my pants, there was like a pack of coyotes that were just kind of circling us. I was like, this kind of seems a little sketchy right now. I don't know if I love this.
Dude, that's awesome, man. So I'm curious, like, obviously, I think you being younger, I mean, I think you're what, 24, 25,
24.
24.
Yeah.
I'm 30. So I feel like, do
You
you
don't look
feel
a
like
day over 25, Marco.
Thank you, bro. I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Um, I'm curious. Like, obviously, golf has a stiffiness. Like, I'm somebody. I'll pull up to the course in like a hoodie and like athletic shorts. I don't give a fuck. Like, do
Yeah.
you find like, or have you received like, I don't want to say backlash, but like criticism from like the let's call them old heads of golf, like the country club people? Like, how do you feel about that? And like, how has that been well received from your content?
I don't think I've gotten that like in person
Yeah,
per se because I'm always like filming at like a municipal course
yeah,
anyways because I feel like that's just where I belong. But maybe if I did this at a country club, I'm
Yeah.
sure I get some looks. But I have gotten some pretty insane DMs, and I like from like older people who are just like, I just see that like that there's their profile pictures on the nicest golf course in the world. And you're like,
Yeah.
you're ruining the game of golf. This is a
Shrink the game.
respect game. Yeah, shrink the game. And I'm like, okay,
Fuck you.
yeah, shut up. You could
Dude,
just,
don't you got something better to do?
I know. I'm not going to show up to your course,
Yeah.
buddy. Okay,
Yeah.
you're going to be okay.
Are you somebody who deals a lot with the trolls? Like, do you get a lot of trolls in your line of work? Like, I
Yes,
feel like, yeah,
100%. Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I deal with it in so I'll never respond to hate with hate ever because I
Okay.
think it's like at the end of the day, if you're receiving a hate comment, if you take a step back, you just be like, okay, who's hating online? You think of the
Yeah.
type of person that person is. They're probably dealing with something, or they're just like
A
not
fucking
worth your
loser.
time. It's just like who
Yeah.
cares at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But I will usually try to respond back with the weirdest thing. Like I've gotten DMs of people like I'm just gonna all right now I'm gonna make you uncomfortable. So then I just like will say like I'll just like put an asterisk. It's like I hiss at you, I kiss up on your neck. Like that's my response. They're like, dude, you're taking craters out of the course, being an idiot. I'm like, you're lucky you're not here because I would try to grab your inner thigh and smell your hair. And then they respond back. They're like, what, dude? You're fucking weird. I'm like, yeah, stay out of my DMs.
Dude, I feel like that's the best way to go about it, man. Like, I feel
Absolutely.
like you kind of have to. Like,
How do you respond to that? You
I
don't.
mean, dude, for me, it's as simple as just fuck you. Like, I guess you're a
Yeah,
little nicer than me, which,
yeah,
makes sense. I don't get, a lot of hate comments. I don't get a lot of comments in general because I'm very
yeah,
small. But, somebody who's big with you, I completely understand. But like I said, I was just curious because, like I said, you're in your own niche of just like golf comedy and stuff. And so
yeah,
that's funny, man. I love it. Like I said, fuck the people who don't like your work. I think what you do is hilarious. I mean, obviously, one of your most viral clips, which we're going to get into here in a little bit, I'm very excited to talk about that one. But
yeah.
let's transition to a little bit. You kind of talked about it, but I'm curious how much of your content is improv versus scripted, and it doesn't have to be like golf, just like in general. Like, because I know you do like your own, like you said, you have your roommates who you guys do
Yeah.
bits as well who are non-golf. So I'm just in general.
I think there's a good mix of improv and actual scripted stuff. And what I like about working with my friends Pat and Mikey is they also come from improv backgrounds, and we just did it together for so long.
Yeah.
So that's just like we're all in this. We have the same mind almost.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it is scripted, and then we get to the course and then kind of play with something that's funnier than what I have written, and
Yeah.
then we'll usually do that. Like there was one video I did, I forget what it was, but there was the beans leaking out of my golf bag, and then there was just a deer there. Luckily for my coverage, I was like, it'd be funny if we were terrified of the deer.
Yeah.
And then like, it was just a completely different ending than what we had. And then I was like, that's kind of funny. So we just pretended to be terrified of these very adorable
Yeah.
deer next to us. So I think it's a mix of that.
Do you have a preference, or do you find like one is like scripted as improv is harder than the other?
Ooh, it depends. I think scripted stuff can be really hard because it's like you have to be smart, like not smart to pull it off, but like it has to be a good idea, and
Yeah.
it can't seem too scripted. Otherwise, people will think it's scripted and then kind of not buy into
Yeah.
it. But improv is kind of hard because you just have to be good at like thinking on your feet and stuff. So it's
Yeah.
like it's a mix of both. But I think improv is really easy if you have good support from other people who are around you and will just kind of like yes your idea and build
Yeah.
off of it.
Do you do anything to like get in like a creative mindset? Like, just drink like 10 beers, smoke a joint, take shrooms, get super fucked up. Like, do you do anything to get in the zone, or are you just kind of like just creative by nature?
Honestly, it's a weird thing, like, and it sucks sometimes because I'm constantly just thinking of just like ideas or something that would be
Yeah.
funny, and I'm like literally like having a conversation with my friend, and then he'll be telling me something, and I'll zone out and be like, oh, that's a funny idea, and he'll just immediately be like, you're not even listening to me. I'm like, I know, sorry. And then other times I'm like trying to go to bed at night, and I'm like
Yeah.
thinking about something that's funny. I'm like, oh, I'll just write an entire sketch in my head, and I'm like, next thing I know, it's like 2 hours since I've tried to go to bed. I'm like, oh my god, go to bed. But usually, if I'm like trying to force being creative, like I'll just sit down at my desk. I'm like, all right, well, I have to shoot something today. What can I write? And then I'll sit down at my desk and then write the dumbest idea in the world. And I'm like, damn it. And then I force myself to do it, and it just
Yeah.
sucks. Whereas sometimes if I'm just like, I usually do a morning walk every morning, and then
Yeah.
that's a really good spot to put on some classical music and try and like get in the zone of being
Yeah.
creative. I think getting out and about and like moving your body is a pretty good way to get your ideas to flow.
Yeah, I feel that, man. Like I said, I'm small time, but I struggle. It sounds like you do too, just to shut off. I'm super passionate about, doing my show and the brand. Like I said, I'm very small, but I've
Yeah.
made some really cool relationships, and I get it, man. I struggle to shut it off. I have ADHD, so I struggle to fall
Yeah.
asleep. And like you said, you'll sit there and like, damn, I'm trying to fall asleep, and I was like, oh, I just think of a question that I should ask this person. Let me go write it down. Next thing I know,
Yeah.
I have 8 questions later of like a whole
Same
thing on
thing.
my notes, right? So
It's insane.
I completely understand that, man. Well,
Yeah.
that's cool. I love I appreciate good improv. Like, did you ever watch? I don't know if you watch a ton of football.
A little bit.
Do you ever watch the show The League?
No,
No.
I
So
have
they
not.
it was a show, like an improv comedy show. They did for fantasy football. But regardless, if you didn't watch it, you wouldn't get it. It's I respect a good improv bit. So like I
Yeah,
said,
I love improv.
I
It's so
really
fun.
appreciate that. Do you have a
Yeah.
favorite comedian? I'm genuinely curious. That
Yeah,
you
I would say for like acting wise, I love Will Ferrell. He's just such a
okay?
big ball of energy. But as for like written stuff, I really love Mark Norman. He's funny, and Shane
Okay.
Gillis, obviously. But
Yeah.
everyone's be like, "Oh, that's so basic." But I was like, "No,
Yeah.
he's funny."
He's fucking hilarious. Like it is what
Yeah,
it is, right? do you uh do you have a favorite golfer?
a favorite golfer. I like Minwoo Lee. He's fun.
Yeah, let him
Yeah,
cook.
he's cool.
Do you watch a lot of golf?
Dude, no,
No,
not really.
feel that. Feel that.
I don't
Do
watch
you,
a lot of stuff. Like people like, oh, you see the golf match on YouTube? I was like, no. Like,
no,
what about
fair enough.
this golf shot on? I was like, no, I don't watch anything.
Fair enough. So how much do you play off camera? Do you do a lot of stuff when you're not filming, or is because I know
Yeah,
you like to
absolutely.
play?
In regards of like hobbies, you mean?
No, just like how often do you golf outside of just when you're
Oh
not?
yeah, yeah, yeah. I do. I've been trying more than lately because like ever since I got into the golf stuff, like
Yeah,
I found myself
yeah,
kind of just like going to a golf course just to shoot and never really play. So I've been trying to force myself like once in a while just to get out in the course, no filming, no nothing, just play. And that's been a lot of fun. But I try to play at least like twice a week, or at least I'm
okay,
shooting twice a week.
yeah,
And then while I'm done shooting, maybe I try to play like 3 holes. But I definitely need to just play more because I feel
yeah,
like that could also spark good ideas, and
yeah.
also it's just fun and I love it, and I don't want to like grow to resent the game just because I'm going to the course every single time and trying to be like, what's the next big video?
Yeah. Do you keep a handicap?
Okay, I don't. And I said last time I'm an honest eight, and I was featured in my friend Golf Gamble or the Scramble Gamble Scramble.
Yeah.
They're gonna kill me for butchering their name, but I was just on their channel, and such a good guy, Max. He does this challenge where you start with $1,000, and every time you either bogey or you miss a fairway, it's like a certain amount of money off.
Yeah.
And I showed up to the course, and it's like, what do you think your handicap is? Like, I don't really record it, but if I had to say, I think I'm an honest eight. And I was 2 under through 8 holes, and then I had like a double bogey, so
Yeah.
I got like even that day. And they're like, "You're not an eight." Maybe I'm lower. I've gotten much better since
Yeah.
being in the golf space because I'm playing so much. But
Right.
I guess now, if I had to really say, I might give myself a +4 or a +5. Not a +5, a 4 or 5.
Okay.
Is it
I'll
plus like
say
under?
yeah. Plus is good. Like +4 or 5 is like pro level stuff.
That's not me. Okay, I'm
Okay.
4 or a 5.
All right. Fair enough. I'm a +1, so I'm a little
Okay,
below a scratch. I play.
you can play then.
Yeah. I play. I played growing up, and I play a lot.
Cool.
Especially because it's more my hobby than anything. But
Yeah,
what's in the bag? What kind of clubs do you use?
I'm using right now Mizuno Pro 245s.
Okay. Do you have a
Yeah,
club? Do you have a club deal? I know you have the deal with Sunday Swagger, but do you have any?
no club
No.
deal. So
Okay.
if any club deals are watching this, help me, help
Let them know.
me.
Same, too. Hit me up. My
Yeah,
DMs
yeah.
are open also.
Me and Marco,
That's
we
cool,
are
man. Awesome.
free
Well,
agents.
let's talk a little bit about your non-golf comedy stuff because I know,
Yeah.
like you mentioned, you do improv as well as stand-up. So, like, what does that look like? Do you do like just pop-ups? Like, I've never met somebody who does that type of stuff. So I'm curious, like,
Yeah.
do you do pop-up shows? Do you book your own shows? How does that work when you're doing more of that stand-up and that type of stuff?
For stand-up, it's mainly like friends who are producing shows will ask me to hop on their show. So I would say stand-up is mostly pop-up. But for sketch and improv, I'm on house teams here in Hollywood. So I have like monthly shows. For
Okay.
improv, I have like 2 shows a month. And then for sketch, I have like 1 show a month. But I actually ended up just leaving that team for sketch. But it
Okay.
used to be just 1 show a month, and it was so fun. Great group, such a funny team. And then improv, I have every like I think it's second and fourth Sundays of
Okay.
every month, and that's also so fun.
Sweet. Do you do you have a preference of like doing golf content, stand up or improv? Like what would you say you're most passionate about from that
I
perspective?
would say I'm most passionate about scripts, so probably like sketches. I'm most passionate about, or even turning that into like the long run of writing for TV or film writing. And then I would say improv, and then sketch or stand ups kind of last. Like I like doing it because it's cool to just be like my own mind and seeing like what
Yeah.
I think is funny and seeing that resonate with other people. I also think it's the hardest and most scary because
Yeah.
it's just, if you bomb, it sucks. It
Yeah.
sucks.
That's
But it's definitely fun. I've definitely had a lot of good shows as doing stand up where I'm like, oh, this is really good. And I've also had plenty of shows where I'm like, I never want to do this again. But that's kind of the same for improv too. It's like you could be really hot one day and your team is just on fire and the crowd loves you, or it could be like not great. You guys aren't like our group mind's not there, and we're kind of just
yeah.
like scrambling around. And I think bad improv's pretty bad to watch.
That was gonna be kind of my next question. Are you more nervous about shit in the bed on stage for like an improv stand up show, or are you more nervous about like a clip doing bad on Instagram?
Definitely live. I could
Live?
care less if because it's like I don't have
Yeah.
to deal with the consequences of it bombing online. Like people will be
So
like, "This sucks," and I could just like hide my face behind a phone screen. But in real life, if it's bad, like there's people watching you cringing, and you just feel the energy in the room, being like, "Ugh, what the hell?"
So, what's been your worst like experience at when like? I'm assuming you've had shows, and that's fine. Like, no
Yeah.
offense, Tiger Woods had a bad day at the office. Like, not
Oh, for
everyone's
sure.
perfect. What's been your worst experience at a show? And if you don't want to talk about, I'm just genuinely curious. But what's been
Oh
your
no,
worst
I
experience
totally.
as a
No,
show when you've had a bad night?
I think there's just shows that like and it's not from like personal like it's just like sometimes like there's shows and it's like a late show, it's kind of like 10 p.m. and I'm like toward the bottom of the lineup, and then people are getting tired, and then people start leaving, so the room's kind of dying down, like just to once you go out there and the energy is just so down, it's tough, but it's also kind of fun to go out there and be like, okay, let me see if I can get the energy back up.
Yeah,
And I've done that before, but I've also gone out where it's like people are just like, I want to go home, and you could feel that,
yeah,
and that sucks. But I've had like awesome shows too. Like a bunch of my friends, like I did my friends host a show for stand up. It's called like Drunk New Jokes, where you have to write and perform brand new material, and you cannot do material that you've performed before, and then you perform it in front of an audience, and if the audience does not laugh, you have to take a shot of vodka or tequila.
yeah,
And I had this idea that it was like I can't really say the concept because it's kind of bad and it would only work at the show, but I had an idea. I'll just tell you like the kind of the premise. It was like
yeah,
that joke where it's like, hey, like why was 6 so afraid of 7?
yeah.
And you're like, oh, the audience was like, oh, because 7, 8, 9. And I was like, no, actually 7. And I just said the most horrifying thing that it did to 6. And then I did a 5-minute story of what happened between 7 and 6 and how it affected his whole life. And like people were just like, people went nuts for it. I was like, oh hell yeah, this is sick.
Yeah.
And that was so much fun. And I was like, cool, that was fun.
Is that so? Like, this is gonna be a weird question, but do you get like a
Yeah.
high from that? Like, do you get
Oh
like
my
a
god,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. It's the best feeling in the world. And I mean,
yeah,
it's funny because like I've had that feeling in like ever since middle school. Like it's like you get the class to laugh, and you're like looking around, like, oh my god,
yeah,
what did I just do?
yeah,
And then you get to college, and then you join the college improv team, and then you make a room laugh. You're like, oh my
yeah,
god, I could do this for a living. And then you move
yeah,
to LA, and then you would just do shows, and then people are laughing. So it's definitely like a high that you're just always chasing,
yeah.
and it is a great feeling.
What's been your biggest show from a fan
My
like
biggest
perspective?
show. This is actually interesting. I think my biggest show was actually in college. My 2 roommates, Mikey and Pat, and Sean, but he left the group, unfortunately. Still great terms, great guy,
Yeah,
good friend. But we did this one show at Montclair, and I think we had like 200 people in the audience. We sold out,
Yeah.
and like we had like a really strong sketch show like in place, and
Yeah.
people just loved it. They were like losing their shit over some sketches. And then we did improv, and we had a really good improv scene. So it was like that was probably one of the greatest feelings, like just selling out like our entire ballroom at our campus, and then
Yeah.
people like coming up to us after like that we'd never met in our lives, like, dude, that show was awesome. I was like, damn,
Yeah.
that was cool. And
Yeah.
it's a
I
great
feel
feeling,
it.
and I'm so thankful to like have our point of view of comedy like resonate with that
Yeah.
many people. And I think it's really cool to just kind of step back and be like, oh, cool, that was really nice.
Yeah. Do people recognize you a lot in public, like out in LA? I mean, obviously, I know LA is very like celebrity heavy, but do people recognize you and ask for autographs or pictures?
Never really autographs, pictures. Sometimes I get
Yeah.
recognized a lot at a golf course or at a bar. I feel like if it's like someone at a bar that's like my age
Yeah.
usually will like notice me, and they'll either come up to me and like ask for a picture, or just like, hey, say like, I love your content. And I always
Yeah.
appreciate that. It's so nice to hear that. It's
Yeah.
again, it's like reassuring. I'm like, okay, yeah, my
I am
content's
funny.
resonating with people.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, for sure. I get that,
people
dude.
don't
Well,
hate me. I'm like,
right, that's the best.
yeah,
Yeah, dude, I love that. If I ever get out to LA, I mean, obviously I'm in Michigan, but I do have some friends out that way. If I ever get out there, we'll have to link up or have to check out
yeah,
some of
dude,
your
let's get a
shows. I
drink. It'd
love
be
it,
fun.
man.
We'll play.
Like I said, I think you're hilarious, or maybe we should get around it. I like to challenge people, so if
Yeah,
you
I'd
ever
love
want to play
to.
a match, let me know.
Let's do it.
I love doing that type of stuff. I've challenged all my YouTubers, so I'll challenge you
Yeah,
as well. And
let's
you're a
do
pretty
it.
good
By the
player. I think
time
you
you
should.
get out here, maybe I'll have an actual handicap that I'll know.
Yeah, you shot even. I don't know if I'm giving you 4 or 5 shots. I don't know about that.
Yeah,
Cool, man. Well, that's awesome. Well, let's talk a little bit about this. Is one I'm excited to talk about. It's
yeah,
I think would say your most famous clip. And you've done a lot of filming with Grace
yeah,
Karras. It wasn't just this one clip, but talk me through that. Like, first of all, whose idea was that? What was the idea
yeah,
behind that? And like, just what? Like, let's just start there, and then we'll get into the
yeah.
rest.
Absolutely.
And if you don't know
So
what clip I'm talking about, it's the nice tits clip. And if you haven't seen it, I'm sure you have. But
yeah, hell yeah. Yeah, that was a fun one. That one was actually one of the shoots where, so that was kind of like early on in my little golf career where I just had started posting videos. And then we followed each other. And then I remember I did, because I knew who she was. I was like, oh, let's totally film some sketches together. And
yeah,
we made plans to go to Catalina Island, which was so cool. And then that was the only idea that I actually had going into that day. So that was one of those days where I was like trying to like scramble on the spot. It's like, okay, how many videos can I get? What can I come up with?
right,
And because I have this one that I think will do really well, and it exceeded what I thought it would do.
right,
And I remember I was kind of nervous, but also not nervous at the same time, because I was like looking at her content. I was like, I know what her content is, and she does OnlyFans. Like, power to that. Fuck yeah,
yeah,
love it. It's a new day and age where it's like, I know so many people who are doing that.
right,
And so like I was like, okay, maybe she would be open to that because it could help, both of us. So I had that idea going into that day,
yeah,
but I was so nervous to pitch it because that could be terrible. Like that
right.
could go so totally wrong.
Double-edged sword for sure.
Yeah. And she's like, if I pitch that idea, it's like, hey, I have this idea where I say nice tits to you. And then you're just like, you're a creep and a weirdo. And I have to spend the entire day with you now because we're on an island. We're at
Right.
Catalina Island and I can't get off of it. So I didn't pitch it right away. We played golf and we were just kind of warming up, getting to know each other. And I think we got to like the sixth hole, or like I think it was the seventh hole because we shot it on hole 8. And my friend Sean was with me. He was helping me film, and he kept like giving me looks. He's like, "You got to do it. Like this is going to be a good video." I was like, "Okay." So I took a deep breath. I was like, "Hey, Grace, and feel free before I pitch this. I want you to feel the most free to say absolutely not. I don't want to do that, and that's okay because I understand."
Right.
But I have this video, and as soon as I said that, she was like, "What are you gonna say?"
Yeah.
So I was like, "I have this idea where you would hit a shot, and then instead of me saying nice shot, I would say nice tits." And then I was like, and then she was like kind of hesitant at first, and then looked to her camera guy, and her camera guy was also like, and then she started laughing, and then her camera guy started laughing really
Yeah.
hard. I was like, oh God, thank God. So like they liked it, and she's like, yeah, absolutely, it's so funny, let's do it. And we actually filmed a few takes of it. The first take was the one that you see, when
Yeah.
my friend laughs.
Yeah.
It just seems so like organic and like
Yeah.
real. And people in the comments were like, is this real or is this staged?
Yeah.
So like he laughed and I was like, that's really funny. But in the moment, I was like, oh, we got to do another one because you
Yeah.
laughed. So we like filmed like 2 or 3 more.
Yeah.
And then on the way home, I was like watching it and I was like, no, it's definitely got to be the laugh because it
Yeah.
seems real and it's like so authentic. So I was like, let's just post that one. And yeah, we posted it. And that video kind of changed
Everything.
my career, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's when I got like a lot of followers and I just kept posting other videos and people were looking at my other videos that I had posted before that. And they're like, oh, dude, I love your videos. This is so fun. I was like, hell yeah,
Yeah.
this is sick.
That's awesome, dude. First of all, that's hilarious. So that was the first time you were filmed. Like that was the first time you had met her in person.
Yes.
You had
Yeah.
that idea.
Yeah.
That's fucking wild, dude. First of all, congrats. Like the props to you for having the nuts to actually like, because like you said, that's a double-edged sword. Like first of all, obviously you could see the comedic aspect of it, which obviously the clip did. I mean, dude, you did millions. And it's your own clip, which I don't need to remind you, but
Yeah.
millions of likes, comments, whatever, and like for that, like I feel like dude, that first of all, it was so funny. And it's cool that she was cool. Like I
Yeah.
follow her. Obviously, I've never met her, but like she
She's
seems
awesome.
like
She's such a fun
that's
personality.
wild. That was the first time that you had
Yeah.
met her.
She's great.
Yeah, dude. And like you said, the laugh too. And then at the end of it, you would laugh too, where you were like trying to like, dude, how hard was it to hold that in? Like to
That was
not.
tough. As soon as like Sean walked around to my face, I was like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna laugh.
You were like,
so because I saw him in the corner of my eye, he was dying laughing.
yeah.
So he was like covering his mouth.
And you've filmed some other stuff that like you did the video, the scramble video of you and the fucking shirt. I mean,
Oh
that you
yeah,
wear, right?
yeah, yeah.
How was that? Like that was
That
more
was fun.
long
Yeah,
form video.
I told her I was like, I have an idea. Bring an extra shirt that you always wear. And she just likes the message, doesn't even respond. I love how she doesn't even question it anymore. She's like, okay, whatever. I'm sure it'll be fine.
Yeah.
Commits to the bit with me, and I'm like, and she kills it every time. It's so fun.
Yeah. Are you guys like? Would you say you guys are friends now? Like, you guys have a
Oh,
pretty cool
absolutely. Yeah,
relationship?
yeah.
Cool.
We send each other memes. Good friends.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
she's great.
That's awesome, man. Well, good for you because, like I said, obviously that clip could go one of two ways. But
Yes, I'm happy
like I
it
said,
went the good way.
well, dude, you just never know. Like you said, it's one that kind of changed your career. You never know, and that's the thing of the day and age of Instagram, TikTok, all these shorts, social media. Like you never know which. You just need one to go to do well, and then
it really does because, like,
next thing you
if
know,
you have good content that you're confident in, and then you post something that goes really viral, then people are gonna like watch all your stuff, and just if you have good content out there, and it's just a matter of having one blow up, and then it could change everything for you.
So now, like when you do your bits now and stuff, like, do you know which ones are gonna like go like I don't want to say viral, but do better? But like, do you know instantly when you think of something like that's gonna do well?
Yes, I think a lot of the stuff that I do one take iPhone that are like kind of short and make people question whether it looks real or not. It's like, oh, is this real or staged? Those always go viral.
Yeah.
Some of the sketches I have like written out, I think I have a good idea that they will go not viral, but like at least do pretty well. And then I've also post ones that I'm like, I think these are for my real core fans that just give me like, this is funny. Maybe not for everyone, but I'm going to post them anyways because you really never know. Like I've also had a few videos that I hated and I just held in the bank for like a long time. And I was like, I'm not going to post this. And then I get to the point where I'm like so out of ideas and so busy where I can't post anything. But then if I'm not posting anything, I feel like, oh my God, I'm falling off. So I just pull those old ones out and post them. And then those go so viral, like way more viral than I thought. I'm like, are you kidding me? What? It took me 3 months to post this. It's like,
do you manage all your own social media, or do you have somebody?
Yes. I manage everything. I edit all my own stuff.
That's cool, man. Props to you. So I asked a couple of buddies for some questions. Just I have a lot of buddies. I won't mention some of the questions I got, but one that I got from one of my buddies was, "How was your head after the waste management?"
Oh yeah.
When you
it was fine. It's so
yeah?
it's a funny thing. I think since I have long hair, I didn't hit my head at all, and I think hand flat. It was my hand that slapped down at the same time where my head went back.
Okay.
So people like really thought I was like, oh my God, this guy got a concussion.
Yeah.
And as soon as I posted it, it started like doing pretty well, like really fast.
Yeah.
I remember like I was at the Waste Management and everyone was talking about how everyone was falling, and I was like, "Oh my god, I'm gonna go to the hill where everyone's falling and just embarrass myself there."
Naturally.
Yeah, and I posted that in like 20 minutes, and it started doing really well. I was like, "Yes!" Then I got a call from my mom, and she's like, "Are you okay? You're having a concussion. You got to go to the hospital." I'm like, "No, like I literally did not hit my head." Like, and I had like friends texting me. It's like, "Dude,
Right.
that video is like, what the hell, man? You like really
Concerning.
hurt yourself." I was like,
Yeah.
"I did not. I was perfectly fine."
Did you so did you have a change of clothes or you just walking
No,
around?
that was early. That was so early on
Dude,
during the day. So I was like
committed
walking
to the
around.
bit. I love
It
it,
was
dude.
funny too because like people were coming up to me. He's like, "Dude, I just watched your video," and then he's like, "I could see all the mud," and I'm just like literally crusted in mud. I was like, "Oh, I hope you liked it."
Thanks, man. You see the
Yeah,
dedication I'm fucking doing. Oh, cool, man. Well, let's. I got one more, and then we'll do some rapid fires, and then we'll get you out of here.
yeah,
So, what do you like to do when you're not making content? Like, what do you like to do outside of just the golf stuff and acting and stand up
yeah.
when you're not
Well,
doing that?
one first and foremost, love just getting to like wind down after a long day, shut my brain off, hang out with my roommates, and just either watch a movie or something.
Yeah.
I'm learning the guitar. Love the
Oh,
guitar.
cool.
It's so fun, just like
Nice.
basic chords, but that's kind of a cool creative outlet where it's like, it's a creative instrument in itself, but it's also
Yeah.
like I'm not trying to be the best guitarist in the world, so it's kind of nice to be like I'm just gonna get good at my own leisure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and honestly, just like sit and melt in my bed just
Yeah.
sometimes, just shut my
Fair
brain
enough.
off and yeah,
Fair enough.
or
Do you like?
long walks, love
Yeah.
walking. Yeah.
Okay. Do you do a lot of like surfing or anything? Being out in LA, are you a water
I
guy? Or you
want to.
just
I snowboard. I don't
oh,
surf. I
cool.
really want to surf, but I do snowboard. Snowboard season's coming up, so that'll be
Yeah.
fun. We're making some plans to go up to Big Bear and Mammoth, and yeah,
Okay.
I've been snowboarding for like way longer than I have been playing golf. I was a snowboard instructor in Jersey for like a few years. So
Cool.
yeah.
Nice. I'm a skier.
Oh
So
hell yeah.
you do a lot
Cool.
in California? Do you ever go to like Utah? I've been to Denver one time. That
I
was
haven't. I want to go to Utah and Denver really bad. I'm gonna try to make that a plan for this upcoming season. But I haven't gone too much in California because I've only been living here for like only one really ski
yeah,
season. But I want to. I brought all my boards and stuff, my snow
yeah,
jackets, and I'm pumped. I'm now like I'm getting all like the snowboarding on my TikTok, so I'm like
yeah.
I'm getting amped. It's gonna be fun.
Hell yeah, dude. That's awesome. Well,
Yeah,
let's do the rapid fires, and like I said, then I'll get you out of here.
yeah,
So we'll
absolutely.
start with this one. Favorite
First
golf
of all,
course?
before you do this, this was such an awesome, interview.
Oh,
The
thank
way
you,
you
dude.
conduct the question, I feel like this was a conversation. It was very flowy. It didn't seem like you were just like asking me random questions. I felt
Yeah.
like I was just having a conversation with you for like 40 minutes. So
Dude,
awesome job. This was
I
so fun.
appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah,
Like
of
I said,
course.
I do this small time. Like here, it's like you're not the first person to say that, so I know I'm doing something right. But thank you
Yeah,
so much. Like that means more than you realize from somebody who has a lot of Like I don't do this for followers, but somebody who has is very recognizable in the business. Say that to me, that means the world to me. So thank you
oh,
so much.
yeah, of
I
course,
really
Mark. I
appreciate
mean
it,
it too.
man.
It's awesome. That was I
Thank
had
you.
a blast. Yeah,
Hell yeah, dude. Open invite to come on whenever. You can come on
absolutely.
whenever
Yeah,
you want.
absolutely.
um. Anyway, thank you for the kind words.
Of
Like I said,
course.
that made my night. I really appreciate that.
Awesome. Cool. I'm glad.
Favorite golf course.
Favorite golf course. Ooh, Liberty National. I played it
Okay.
one time, but it was unforgettable. So
Okay.
cool.
Hell yeah. Is that I was so the next one's the nicest golf course. Is it Liberty? Is that the same answer?
Ooh, probably
Or
Ridgewood. I
most?
think
I would
Ridgewood
say
in New
most
Jersey. I played
prestigious.
Ridgewood.
I'm sorry. What?
I played Ridgewood in New Jersey. That one's
Oh hell
also
yeah,
really
that's
nice.
a good
But I'm
one.
sure Liberty is probably like the same exact.
Ridgewood PGA
Yeah.
tournament. There a couple
Yeah, I
times.
would say Ridgewood, honestly, because I
Cool.
played it pretty soon after the PGA event there, and it was like really good shape.
Cool. Favorite. I think I already asked your favorite golfer, but favorite creator. Do you have a
Favorite
favorite creator?
creator. Ooh, God, that's a good question. I love Saint Andre. They're
Dude,
another
they
guy.
are so funny,
Those are
man.
they're great guys in the comedy space, and their content's so funny. It's so original. I'm like every time I see, I'm like, this is awesome.
Have you done anything with them? Do you have any like
Not
collabs?
yet. We've been in contact, so I would
Okay,
definitely
cool.
love to film with
I
them.
think
And then
you.
also Pointer Brothers. Pointer Brothers
Okay,
are fucking awesome. I love those guys. They're great.
I think you and Saint Andre could do some really funny stuff, dude.
Yeah,
Those
that's
guys are
definitely.
hilarious.
I should reach out to them again. They're so funny.
Coolest golf moment on camera. Doesn't have to be
Ooh,
like a hole in one or anything, because obviously I know you don't do the playing
yeah.
stuff, but
There was I played in the random golf club 100-person scramble, and
Okay.
it was such a fun day. But there was one, like the first hole, after shanking in front of like hundreds of golfers and everyone laughing at
Yeah.
me. But it was like, that's perfect. That's exactly that's what else would happen, you know?
Yeah.
So
Right.
there was probably a 40-footer for eagle, I think, and I got up to do it, and then I just sunk it, and then like everyone on the green was going nuts, and I was like, oh my god, I felt like a rock star. So that was probably one of the coolest golf
Nice.
moments for me. Yeah,
Nice. Coolest golf moment off camera.
coolest golf moment off camera. I think playing golf. I did a video with my mom having her caddy for me for YouTube,
Oh,
but she also
nice.
stuck around for the back nine after we just weren't filming, and we were
Yeah.
just kind of shooting the shit. Me, her, and all my friends just kind of playing golf.
Yeah.
So having her see what I do and kind of be like, "Oh, this is cool." I think that's one of the coolest moments for me.
Yeah, speaking of videos, you just did the one with you released the one with your dad. That one was
Yes.
fucking hilarious, dude. The 9 holes. Did you
Yeah.
actually? So I'm curious. Not to get. Well, I have a couple more, but I'm curious about
Please
this.
keep
I want
asking
to ask.
away. Yeah, yeah.
Do you? Did you when you passed out? Was that scripted, or did you actually just
No,
get
that
too
was
drunk?
real. That was real. I got home and I was so drunk. My dad was fine. He just hammered him. He sat
Yeah,
by the pool, I think, the rest of the day, still drinking. I was like, "What are
what a
you doing?"
beauty.
I got home and I was like, I'm gonna take an hour nap. And I went to this was like literally 45 minutes after I got home.
Yeah,
And I woke up that night at 8:30. It was like 1 p.m. when I went to bed. I just got like a whole night's rest when I
nice.
got home. And I woke up like completely fine, like sober, and I felt great. I was like, "Oh my god, that's I just needed to sleep through it."
Yeah,
But yeah,
you
I
were
was
mixing,
snoring.
dude. You were mixing it. Like you had that
I
7%, or
know.
you had some
The
Mick
seven
Ultras.
percenter was just a bad
Yeah,
idea. Did not need that.
yeah. You gassed that bitch too.
Yeah. That was on a par 3 too. Yeah, that was
Yeah,
just
bro. All all right, favorite video you've ever made and why?
oh, good one. I'll have to think back for a second. I really think the SpaghettiOs one where I had those on my pants because
Yeah,
I just it's just such an out there video, and like it did pretty well on both platforms. But
yeah,
I also just love like the duality of the comments where like this is hilarious and then this is fucking weird.
yeah. Right.
It was kind of a good mix of that.
Yeah,
But it was just a fun one to film with my friends. Like we kept breaking character because of how ridiculous it was.
yeah,
Like there's a clip of like this long awkward shot where it's like I pull my pants down and then it zooms into me and then it zooms back out and at the
yeah,
perfect timing like a wad of SpaghettiOs just like drips out and
yeah,
it made a funny sound and it pans back up to me and I see my both of my friends like trying so hard to hold their laugh in and
yeah,
I held it in for just like the perfect amount of time for it to make the cut of the video. But I was
yeah.
like, after that, we laughed so hard, and it was like the rest of that shoot was just so ridiculous. So that was probably one of the most fun shoots I've ever had, and probably one of my most memorable videos for me.
How did you get your? How did you get? Like, how did you? How was the setup of that? Like, how did you
Dude,
get?
that's another example of like thinking what's a relatable thing to happen on the golf course is whenever you don't make it past a women's tee box, your friends are always like, "Oh, you got to play with your pants down."
Right.
Like, okay, from there, what could be weird about that? It's like, what if I had something that I was ashamed of in my underwear? And then the original one was butternut squash, but I was like, that's kind of just hard to find, so I guess I'll
Yeah.
just settle for SpaghettiOs. And it was like, I'm why are there SpaghettiOs in your pants? It was like because I walked a quarter mile and started to chafe. It's just the idea of thinking that the SpaghettiOs would make me feel better. It's just a
Yeah.
funny little thing.
Oh, that's
I
awesome.
found it funny, so it's like that's also another thing for content. I do what I think is funny a lot, which I'm like kind of happy about. And
Yeah.
you mentioned that you're 6 months into. I think you should just do content that you think is good or
Yeah.
like you like because I think one it'll be more enjoyable to make, and the people that it resonates with will be like a core fan of your content. So just stick to whatever you like doing. I think.
Yeah, dude, I appreciate that. No,
Yeah.
I've heard that a lot. Like, a lot of the guys, the creators I've had on, because I do a lot of creators. I also do PGA Tour guys. Like, I do anyone
Yeah.
in golf. But a lot of the creators have said like, consistency one and just be authentic. Like
Yeah.
that's the message I've gotten is like be authentic. Eventually, you never know what can happen. like consistent. Like I said, I'm not in this to go viral. If I want to do that, I would quit my job and do it full time. I do this as a
Yeah.
hobby. The relationships I've met, like I said, this stuff is very cool to me. So
Yeah.
I get that, and that's cool that you do stuff that makes you laugh, because I feel like that's most important. Like if you're not enjoying what you're, it's just because like people don't realize like this is your job. Like you do this full time. This pays your bills. Like this pay, you puts a roof over
Yeah.
your head, feeds you. Like like any job, if you're not enjoying what you're doing, you shouldn't be doing it. And like I feel
Yeah.
like people see you on the outside and think, oh, this kid just makes content on the side and is laughing. Like no, this is how you pay your bills. So like I feel like you should be happy while you're doing it. So doing
Yeah.
stuff that makes you laugh, I get it, really resonates, and that's something I've heard from a lot of the people I've had on.
Yeah.
Best round. Do you have one? Anything under
Yes.
par?
78 I shot.
78. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
70, not under par, but 78 I shot at Bowling Green in New Jersey this past summer when I was
Cool.
home visiting. And yeah, that was a good one. I was dialed. I was like, God damn, this is really good.
It's fun when you play good golf.
Yeah, I know. It's so fun to play good golf.
Biggest creator or comedian role model? Do you have one?
Biggest creator or comedian role model?
Or just a role model in general?
Damn. That's a good one. I guess like Adam Sandler
Okay.
is just, I like his story. Like I really like how, he did improv comedy and sketch at NYU, with his friends, and then obviously made it on SNL and did a bunch of stuff like that. But I loved how he worked with his friends throughout his entire career and incorporated them in like every movie and still does that. I think that's awesome because I think something that I've found so far with like doing what I've been doing, like either going to film school and, like you really do work with the people that you kind of come up with.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm still working with the same people that I met at freshman orientation in college.
Right.
So it's cool to like build that group and see it one work for them and then look at what you're doing, be like, oh, that's kind of similar to what I'm doing. So it could work for me as well.
Yeah.
So it's like, I guess role model looking up to Adam Sandler that way too is really cool. It's also cool to see him doing like different types of movies, like Uncut Gems is totally not a comedy, but he's still crushed it. And it's like, it's awesome.
For sure, man. Well, guys, that's the last question. That's the Scratch Golf Show. That's James Lynch. If you made it to the end of this podcast on YouTube or Spotify, make sure you hit subscribe below. Make sure you leave a comment as to what your favorite part of the interview was with James. Make sure you check out his stuff if you haven't already. Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, Marco. That was so much fun.